and then they put the guardrails on it, and then they released it calling it Fable 5, which was supposed to be the one that was safe to use. It was out for 3 days total, so people didn't get their hands on it for that long of a time, and then the government deemed it a national security risk, and they only wanted it to be in the hands of American citizens, I believe it was. And so with that rule, a lot of Anthropic employees couldn't even use it, which is pretty crazy. And so then that created the back and forth. That was the big public blow up. The guys from All In definitely chimed in quite a bit. They're like, it's hard to get a read on like what their objective is. It seems like they just hate everybody in AI.
I actually haven't had the chance to properly listen to the podcast. Um, I mean, the unfortunate reality is that with Sachs having been in the White House, like everything just gets jaded from there, you
Mm,
know? Which there's two sides to that. There's like he's there, right?
mm.
So he's hearing some of the conversations to some degree, and I guess he stepped out of that by now. By the way, I
Yeah, I
think
think
he did.
that's done because I think it was only a certain day period that you're in there.
Word. Um, so he's been a part of some of those conversations for sure, but then it's also like, okay, but there's like a political angle now because you're in there as well. So I don't know how much I can really take. He's provided some good counterweight, right, to the entire equation, which I think is awesome. But yeah, I haven't actually fully listened to this most recent episode either.
Yeah, it's the All In. They were so quick to get it out after the whole Fable thing happened. Like they did a midnight release type deal of their conversation.
Gotcha.
And so I watched the whole thing. And again, there's so much gamesmanship going on across the board because there's so much at stake with at this point now they're dealing with. And this was kind of how I feel is always the plan. Like when you create something that is this kind of monster in our current formulation of how we conduct society, the only customer was going to be like the nation state. Like it's the only way any of this can really make sense is if it becomes something that's owned by people who have unlimited money, literally. So it's hard to follow. There's a lot of misdirection. There's a lot of characters involved in this, and I've never seen anything radicalize people quite like AI has done in terms of the division. There's a lot
Hmm.
of, and I'd say it's probably like 90 or maybe 90 10. Like 90 people hate it, percent of people hate it, and then 10% of people like love it and are futurists. It certainly seems
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. Like there was already only a very small pocket of even just probably capitalists, I think, that are just like accelerationism all the way down, maximum,
Mhm.
right? And that's Silicon Valley. Like they're all just like innovation at all costs.
Yeah, that's innovation is their god.
Yeah, I love that you said that in some notes back and forth. I was like, that's a very good way to put it. Um, I haven't done a ton of reading of like Adam Smith or James right, yeah, or like the original writers of like what is capitalism and things of that nature, economists in that sense.
Mhm.
But I don't know how they would feel about this. I'd love to hear someone who does spend a lot of time thinking about that, what they think people would say about this accelerationism. Like, is this actually a good thing?
Well, it's also gonna bring into the forefront. Sorry, did I cut you off? Do you have anything else you want to
No,
say?
no.
Um, that thing, right? Like that word of capitalism, like that now becomes a big topic and talking point of that. Well, that can't function the same way as it has, right? If this is what you're saying that it is, that whole thing's got to be rewritten. And if you've been preaching that this was like the be all end all system for all this time, and it can't handle something like this, like that creates a lot of chaos there too. But Cross Central has a really good point that I think we should be harping as much as we possibly can. It's honestly not that hard to set up your own agent locally and downloading your own LLMs. Like local use of um, LLMs is definitely a big thing, and it certainly seems like that's a big reason why Anthropic, or I should say, Sachs's point of view, or a lot of the guys from All In, was that Anthropic wants to be regulated to basically suppress the opportunity for local stuff to ever take off, like open source stuff. And that was their take in terms of why they wanted the government to get involved.
Can you help me understand that? Why would that lead to the stifling of local models?
I forget the exact, not local, sorry, open source.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, because most of the big crazy thing here is that there's so many people involved like China, their approach is typically to open source their latest models all the time because the economies are just so radically different. They're a production economy, right? And so their amplification of these models is the fact that they can really improve their production capacity and then also the software associated with the production capacity. So I'm sure you've bought some stuff from China before where it had a companion app and the app just sucked ass,
Mm,
right? Now, if you start paying attention to when you buy shit from China now, those apps are getting better and better by the day because they can now, right? So that's a massive thing where really it amplifies how much you're going to buy from China because the the production was always there and you can't really get it anywhere else. But it was kind of a pain where the companion thing that you're used to from a lot of North American or Western experiences, you're used to a certain caliber of software quality, right?
mm,
Whereas now they're giving this all to the end consumer from China now, and then also from the software they're using to basically conduct the production as well. So like that's really their plan is like open source it because they're trying to do what they do even better, and then also um, to take advantage of the whole network effects for the economy at large. Whereas we're taking such a different approach, where in the capitalism environment, in its truest form, what they say is that people want to be winners, right? Whereas China wants the whole country more or less. And again, I'm not from China, I don't know anything, but I'm saying like from what I've read, it seems things like the differences in approach.
very interesting thought there. And to open that up, like when you open source something, right? Anyone can contribute to it. And now, obviously, that mean there can be some restrictions as to how that works to some degree, I guess. But in most cases, right, that doesn't only mean Chinese nationals. It also means people from all over the world who can
Yes.
see this code base and contribute to it.
Mhm.
So what China's doing, what Ben is saying, is opening up the ability to improve the software piece to not even just people who are specifically aligned with these companies in China or China itself, but all the talent around the world who has a vested interest in seeing this technology continue to develop can come and work on these Chinese open source AI models. Now, what can come with that, right, is some degree of obviously not having like pure control over the direction of things, which if this is something that's going to change things for all of humanity, you don't really need to have control, right? You might actually want to do it in a way that's in alignment with the people who want to see this continue to develop.
Mhm.
And then there's also like the commercial aspect of it. But then the question becomes, do you want the pie to be bigger or do you want a bigger piece of the pie? And I think China's saying, well, we just want a bigger pie to exist and a better pie so that when you eat it, it tastes really good.
Mhm.
But anyways, yeah, just wanted to kind of highlight why open sourcing can make a difference to some degree.
Totally. And people are dropping some good stuff in the chat, so we'll go through them. How are you now said the version of capitalism we know is extremely flawed version to benefit the government and corporations over actual capitalists. It certainly seems as such. It seems like a lot was done to convince you that you have a chance. And it seems like that's why a lot of like they made these billionaires into characters and points of oh this works and it's like is that a display is that it working on display or is that its flaws on display? It's hard to say. It's totally up to you for how you interpret that. And then Heliofont said, problem is local LMs are a lot worse than Frontier, definitely. But for a lot of the tasks that people are using them for, you don't really need the Frontier models for a lot of things. And then so too, where will the locals and the open source stuff get better and better? Um, and Cross said, I'm saying open source will be huge soon because Anthropic or OpenAI can't just terminate all of your work in an instant. That's another thing too, right? It becomes a massive risk when you're so reliant on these systems and like you're taking your proprietary data to like run their models most effectively and you're sharing that with them too, right? So like you're making their business better while creating a strong degree of risk for yours, right? And then Helio said open source projects still have maintainers, of course. They choose which pushes get merged into the main branch, but yeah, anyone can contribute, definitely. It's a
Totally.
lot that's like any open source system. But it's crazy to think about also another angle for the US thing is that this huge push to make data centers such a big thing is also making the ability for the average consumer to purchase compute so difficult. They're
S-
they're
Compute.
cranking up the prices because
Gotcha.
of these data centers, right?
Yeah.
So if you even want like a decent computer, it's a computer is now more today than it was a few years ago for like the same more or less machine in terms of equivalent power, right? And
Hmm.
so that becomes a massive issue where it's like, is that all by design to get that option just kind of off the table?
Hmm. It just makes me think of that the Apple laptop that they put out a few months back. It's probably like 6 months ago now. The like super cheap Apple that they made.
Yep.
Um, it's maybe like thinking about this and like, well, we need to have something that people can just get their hands on a computer.
Hmm.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It's a big thing where so many people who gamers are complaining about the cost of compute quite a bit and all this stuff because it's so expensive now at this point, which you need a pretty strong machine to run these models at a decent scale. And so when you think about all these things coming into play, like there's the crackdown on what you can and can't do on the internet. There's so many things going on at the exact same time. So it's crazy. So another one, I'm a little worried about how much I'm reliant on Frontier for my work. My hope is that if the bubble pops, I can find cheap compute and run local. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people playing that game. Of like, it's also difficult for different use cases, right? Like for us, we have a team where people are scattered all over the place. Like to expect them to run local models and get good things out of it. It's just a difficult thing to do, and a lot of people's machines can't function like that. So it's a complex thing.
Totally. Um, Another piece of this story has been specifically what the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, has put out on X. I'm calling it X today, I guess, but it's really Twitter. Um, Talking about the future of AI. So I'm going to talk about some of that here. Also, let you guys see it because it was quite the phenomenon over the weekend here,
Yeah, it blew up
where
quite a bit.
yeah, it went pretty stupid. And I also realized when I checked this, and I'll show you guys this because I think it's also like an internet literacy thing. So I look at Satya Nadella's tweet. It's a frontier without an ecosystem is not stable. You can see it has 63 million views on it. And one of the things that I was doing when I was looking at this was like view quotes to see basically like who helped to amplify this.
Mhm.
And in reality, Elon Musk just quote tweeted and said interesting, and that alone got 31 million of all of those views.
That's another reason the whole AI thing has me hella suspect was like the fact that he bought Twitter and then legit a month later, OpenAI launches. Sorry, ChatGPT. Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think about for sure.
That's like I don't know, man. That's like how the government shut down that program that's basically Facebook, and the next day Facebook gets registered. Like I don't know, man.
How so break down the like incentives around how you look at that.
So uh, I'm just confirming that I'm not totally wrong. So October 27th is when Elon officially buys Twitter, and then November 30th, ChatGPT officially launches. Yeah, right. That's a coincidence. There's no way, man. So why is that such a big deal? Is because if you follow the current day news cycle, it all originates on Twitter. So if you have access to that algorithm, you essentially can create realities from incentive structures of, well, one, his page is like big enough to move it. So if you make his page just huge, that becomes a massive weapon right there. And then two, if you have full control over the algorithm, you dictate what does or doesn't do well, then you can totally create realities. And all of this hysteria starts on Twitter. And then a week later, it's on like YouTube. And then 2 weeks later, it's on Instagram. And then a month later, it gets to LinkedIn. And that's all started from one place. And if enough people say something, it just becomes the truth. So I don't know. I'm very skeptical that even the beef between him and Sam is like that real. I feel like when you're up that level, like I feel like it's a lot like politics. I feel like they're all, yeah, they may be on opposite, because that's what today is. Like tech is what politics was like 60 years ago.
That's
It's
gross.
it's true though.
Yeah, dude. That's a crazy thought to think about. Wow.
So I feel, and they pull that theatrics crap in politics all the time, right? And you see these things get leaked, these files that get released, and you see how much there is a crossover of these political parties and how BS they really are. right? I feel like tech would not be immune to that, especially when you look at the involvement of very high powers with all of these major tech institutions. Like if you go back to their advent, like yeah, they're allowed to be there. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm very hard pressed to believe it's a coincidence. And then you look at a lot of the people who are pushing and who are like super bulls. They're so financially invested for that future becoming a reality. And again, maybe this all happens, but they're having to strong arm it into existence because the economic viability of it is not there. And then when people try to say, oh, this is just how tech works, like they always run a loss. The numbers are just like nothing close to anything we've seen before. Like I believe it was that Anthropic in the last 6 months raised more than, oh, was it Uber or Amazon like ever did? I can't, sorry, I'm screwing up the specifics, but like that's a crazy thing to even think about.
There was also that graphic from the SpaceX IPO too. I'm try to find it real quick. It was like how much money they raised and like how that dwarfs how much money they've ever spent as well.
Got it.
And like that was an interesting thought too.
Then there's the circular financing, and then also building off of Keith's video, definitely go watch it. In the thumbnail, he's got all the big tech leaders, like all the people who would benefit most from AI's future. They own the algorithms that create perception. This is not hypothetical. This is fact. Like Elon owns Twitter, Oracle guy owns TikTok, Zuck owns Instagram and Facebook. Google people own YouTube. Like it's literally they own our perception machines.
Yeah, you were the one who pointed that out to me and all of that. And I mean, it's a pretty wild thing to think about that that's where we're at. And then you saw OpenAI make the acquisition of the TBPN podcast,
Mhm.
right? So something you can't ignore in thinking about all of this too.
Either today or another time, I want to go through like the timeline of my involvement in this whole AI shit because I play a weird part in it in a tiny, tiny, tiny way. But like I was involved in the theatrics of this crap to a degree in terms of like who I worked with. So it's definitely fascinating and why I'm skeptical of this. My brain also just kind of works like this because I realize how bullshit most of the world is.
Hey, you made it to the end of the clip. That means you're probably enjoying this. And if so, just know that you can catch us live every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to see the full version of this episode, you can click the link in the description down below. Otherwise, YouTube thinks that you will enjoy this next.